What's going on? It's Coach Williams, and we're back again for another episode of Ballhawks VR. And in this episode, we're going to be doing a breakdown of the Cover 1 defense. So, I want to apologize in advance. Some of the audio quality is not great on here. I'm working on that, but the visual aspects are the thing that are the most important. So, without any more delays, let's get this thing started.
All right, so here we are in VR. Let's get started on Cover 1. So a few ground rules that we just want to get out of the way first. The first thing we want to know is Cover 1 is a middle of the field closed defense. But from this perspective, we're going to start it with a Cover 2 shell just because we want to use a disguise, okay? The next thing we want to understand, it is also a man-to-man coverage. So we're going to be matching up with receivers. Another thing that we want to talk about here is we're not going to be doing like Cover 1 robber or something like that. We're going to do it from a zone pressure 3-4 perspective. So we're going to attach a blitz to it, okay? And you'll understand why that makes a little bit of sense once we start getting into the responsibilities. The last thing that we want to notice here is the offense is in a different formation from what we've been seeing before. Before we were using doubles formation. And now this is still a balanced formation, but it's an 11 personnel formation, and we would call this deuce, okay? So let's get right into it with the run fits or the blitz lanes, okay? So let's get some color here. All right, so first things first. We are going to be doing what's called a cross dog blitz. So we'll be sending both inside linebackers and looping them across. So first things first, we're going to have the nose. Actually, let's make that a little bit smaller. We're going to have the nose coming through the strong side A gap, okay? Then we're going to have our will linebacker looping through the opposite B gap, and the Mike linebacker looping through the opposite A gap. Then we're gonna have the tackle go on the outside and the end go on the outside. Both guys in their respective C gaps, okay? So now that we've got that, let's get into the coverage responsibilities of each player, okay, in the back end. So we'll start with the corners. The corners are always going to have the number 1 receivers, and the outside linebackers are always going to have the number 2s, okay? So let's just get that drawn. All right. So boom. Boom. Okay. Then Sam here. Rush here, okay? So we got all of our responsibilities there. Then, since we're blitzing these 2 interior linebackers, this B gap ends up being open. So we're gonna drop the free safety down, right? And he's gonna replace in that area where the will linebacker would be, okay? Then let's get a different thing here to show what the free safety and the strong safety would be doing. The strong safety is going to rotate to the middle of the field, and his landmark is going to be the goal post, okay? So now that we've got that all drawn in, all right, we can see that. We see all the perspective and everything. Now we know who everyone is covering, right? Let's get rid of all the drawings except for the blitz paths, okay? So let's look and understand the technique and the coverage responsibilities in man-to-man coverage for each player. So we'll start with the corner, all right? So the corner is going to be lined up here on this number 1 receiver. He's going to be using his outside foot to split the receiver in half, okay? And if he gives me an outside move, I'm gonna come with this opposite hand and jam him, right? I'm gonna jam him up the field, try to flatten him out until I can get hip to hip with him, right? It's called in phase. And once I have him in phase and I can feel him, now I can look back for the quarterback and look back for the football and be able to see what's going on, okay? All right? So that's our press technique there, right? Now, we'll get to this Sam linebacker, this outside linebacker here. Get rid of him, okay? So we're about 6 yards off the line of scrimmage, and we're gonna be using what's called a catch technique, okay? So we're not gonna give any ground, we're not gonna back up at all. I don't want you to move forward either, but I don't mind it as much if you give a little bit of a creep. They call it creep technique. We're gonna use catch, but you can creep also, right? You can take maybe one step up to minimize the difference, okay? But we're gonna be moving laterally. We are not gonna open our hips on any move. We are going to cut off the space no matter where he goes. We're gonna shuffle from side to side. And then as we get closer, right? Same thing, right? Opposite hand jam, get hip to hip with him, right? We wanna aim and track for that hip. Once we get to the hip, we get on top. And now, again, we can look back for the football, okay? So that's the technique that we'll be using there, that catch technique. Now, the rush linebacker, like we said, is gonna be on the tight end. And what he's gonna do is he's gonna do a jam technique. So he's gonna have his inside foot up and his inside arm up, right? Almost like kind of in a stance that's almost like a receiver stance, but angled towards the tight end. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a jam technique. We wanna try to push him into this offensive tackle if possible. That would be perfect. And like with press technique, we're gonna be trying to aim for that armpit and track the hip up the field. We wanna disrupt his timing and not let him be able to get a clean release upfield. All of us are trying to flatten these receivers out. We wanna flatten them. We don't want them to be able to move vertically, okay? So we're gonna try to flatten him down. If he wants to come outside, well, we're in a natural position now where we can actually use two hands because he's gonna have to turn into us. And we're gonna try to get into his breastplate and again, flatten him down. Do not let him get a vertical release, all right? So that's the technique we'll be using there. Let's get him back to his spot. Move him around a bunch, okay? And then we've got, now you'll understand a little bit better what's going on here. Let's show you what the free safety is gonna be doing. The free safety is gonna come down into the box, right? And his responsibility, he's gonna be reading the back, okay? So if the back releases, he's gonna be man-to-man on the back, okay? So he's gonna be man. And the technique that we're gonna be using is we're just gonna match his movement almost like a linebacker. If he gives us profile, now back here, we're gonna give profile and turn and run, right? Always have eye on the hip, right? It's almost like pursuit. We're gonna treat it almost like we're pursuing a ball carrier, right? So we're gonna be aiming for that hip and taking that angle on with him. We don't wanna overrun, we wanna be level with him. So we wanna aim for that hip and move. So if he gives us profile, we give him profile. If he squares back up, right? Then we square back up, right? Because what could he be running? He could be running an angle route, right? So we don't wanna have to flip our hips too early, right? So if he's squared up, we wanna stay squared up too, because we don't wanna have to move our hips constantly, right? We wanna match whatever he is doing, okay? So if he does not release though, and he stays in the protection, well now you're the robber player, okay? You're gonna be reading the number twos through quarterback's vision, right? So you're gonna read the number two receivers on either side, seek, search, look for a crosser, and read quarterback vision and drive on the football on anything short, right? So we're helping out the two interior guys. And then lastly, let's get him back down. Get this. Lastly, we've got the strong safety. The strong safety is going to be rotating to the middle of the field, okay? And he also is gonna be reading the number 2 receivers through quarterback's vision, okay? So if one of these number 2 receivers pushes vertically, quarterback starts looking at him, we're gonna keep our hips and shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, and wherever he is looking, we're gonna weave, okay? We're gonna weave step based off quarterback vision, and if we see one of our interior guys getting beat pretty badly, well then we're probably gonna wanna cheat that way a little bit more, right? So we got 3 things we're reading, the 2 twos and the quarterback, okay? And our landmark, as you can see right now, we're perfectly on it. It's the goalpost. That's our landmark, middle of the field, okay? Middle of the field, closed. We're not giving up any seams. We're not giving up any post routes, anything deep down the middle of the field, okay?
So that's it for our breakdown for the Cover 1 defense. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll share it with your friends, like it, comment, do all that good stuff, and I'll be back with some more breakdowns. Tomorrow I'm gonna be dropping another video where we're actually gonna put the Cover 1 defense into action, and we're gonna show a play from Julio Jones. So, Ballhawks, we fly. Coach Williams,